We'll see how
I
that
think we
plays
do
out.
the rest of the EG saga. Let's just
Yeah, let's
knock
just
it
do
out
the
now.
EG saga because
Yeah.
I mean it is just so fucking entertaining. It's so the way that I've got this here is okay. It kicked off. I think this is probably like where it started to kick off, where Vorborg he joins Evil Geniuses, right, as the coach, and he makes that statement where he says this will be, you know, after some work, obviously, you know, but he says, you know, this will be the best season EG has shown in a while. And I think that I remember reading that article and saying like, well, okay, then, you know, this is setting the bar pretty high. I mean, Evil Geniuses, they've had a decent past, a decent, history. If you're talking about,
Dude,
you know,
do you want me
seeing
to
that
give
kind
you
of
like
potential, this is going to be really interesting.
I'll give you the obvious window there because, by the way, he's absolutely fucked up saying that statement, right? I will remind people, technically, when they made the semi at the major, they were still NRG. That was the last event before they became EG. But after the major in 2019, you might remember, they won ESL New York, including beating Astralis twice, once in a best of 5 on LAN. Then they had the Star Ladder tournament they won in like Turkey, and they had some other top 4s and top 8. So like, the stupidest part about that comment is it actually implies to me he doesn't know the history of his own team, because this isn't complexity. You're not just saying like, oh, you know, we'll try and have some like half decent LAN results. You're essentially promising. If you don't know, I think they even became number 2 ranked team in the world at the time. It's like that's enormous. You're essentially promising the world when you say that. Vorborg. By the way, I've got a little aside on that maybe people don't know. This is actually something I've noticed might confuse people. So here's the part that people will forget, okay, Semmler, is if I say to you, who the fuck's Vorborg? Why would he be in this team, right? Everyone's going to tell me, Semmler, he's the guy who got Copenhagen Flames into all those top 8s at majors, right?
That is the usual storyline, yes.
Right, here's the problem. So what was Peter doing on those teams then?
Who?
Oh, that's right. Peter was the coach of those teams. Vorborg was like the fucking, I think the equivalent of like the general manager, mate. So as far as I know, I think he got the players for the team. But as far as I know, Peter coached the guy from Sweden, the guy who's by the way, won a major with NIP as a coach and has been coach of a bunch of other. As far as I know, he was the coach, wasn't he? Am I wrong on that? I'm pretty sure that's correct. So that's already one where it looks like if you're Vorborg, you've blagged it, mate. You've made some stupid Americans who don't know about CS think you coached the team full of like half-decent Danish players to be way better than they are. But in reality, well, you're some sort of management person. So already I think it's mental that you're saying that. And then also, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Pete only coached the first time or something. I could be.
I'm trying to check right now, actually, because Vorborg was present on the team.
Because it says he was a coach, but
I'm actually looking at HLTV right now. This is a bit wild.
Let me see.
Because if it's Swedish PETA going onto Copenhagen Flames, that's just.
Well, maybe it was only Stockholm that he coached then. Maybe Vorborg coached them at Antwerp, where they also made top 8. To be fair,
why is it that I can't see more?
What I would say is this, though: if we pivot it,
PETA was here for a while, and at the end of 2021, going into 2022, PETA was on as a coach.
But yeah, anyway, to go back to the beginning, as you say, if you make those statements, by the way, you are setting the team up to either be incredibly successful or to fail your expectations. Like that's what he started out with. So he's put the bar up here, guys. So let's see, where did it go after this?
Well, if you've been following along, it then went on to have the match that shook the world, is the one that I've titled.
Which it did. It was a massive shock for sure. Yeah.
Which was the Blast Premier Spring Groups 2023 first round. First round, again, remember, best of 3 on LAN, but studio LAN, but first round after a break. So always going to be a little bit of shakiness. Potential for upsets does go up after a break because you don't really know who's going to be in shape and who's going to still have a bit of ring rust, and you know who's going to be trying to figure out the strategy and like getting back in shape. So Evil Geniuses, you know, they come out swinging and they beat Heroic 2-1 in the Blast Premier Spring Groups. So that was I think
at the time they were actually like number 1 ranked team in the world, maybe even
Heroic were, yes.
Yep.
So they were looking sharp. You know, this is a massive, gigantic upset by any measure. You know, there's no getting around it. And they then also, you know, so it doesn't end there. Evil Geniuses get battered by Vitality. And then they drop down to the lower bracket. Heroic were doing work in the lower bracket. Close match against Astralis. But then they also succeeded in taking a map off of Heroic in the consolidation final, in the lower bracket final. So Heroic still beat them in the end and still yeeted them out. But they took a map off of them too. So you're like, holy moly. Okay. Evil Geniuses. Is Vorborg living up to the hype? You know, it seems like they're cooking with gas if they're taking maps off, taking series and maps off of Heroic. This bodes well. And so this was the birth of one of the greatest copy pastas in recent memory.
It's gonna have so much, because what's great about that one is it's so memeable, isn't it? Like there's so many sort of quotables in it.
It's just
it's amazing.
it is.
It's
you couldn't have crafted a better
Yes.
copy. Like it's just the perfect, straight out of Twitch chat. Some autist, somewhere figured this one out. But okay, GamerDoc. We just took down the #1 ranked team of the world, and all the casters can think to say is Heroic didn't show up. We clawed our way back from 217th in the world by building a talent pipeline the whole scene memed on. Step out of the echo chamber and pay attention. So this is from our fan favorite GamerDoc, who you're going to do a video on soon, which is going to be I cannot wait to watch to listen to that video, because I'm sure it's going to be hysterical. Because I mean, she just keeps on going, and then she puts off of that one tweet. That's a tweet. Pimp responded to this tweet saying, "I think this is a bit unfair," and everybody pretty much also kind of responded saying, "This is a bit unfair considering the casters."
Notice also the way Pimp replied was in very good faith. He actually genuinely tried to have a conversation with her and just tell her why she wasn't correct or frame it differently. Like he didn't even seem like he was being shitty, dude. He seemed like he had a very respectful tone.
I'll go ahead and read Pimp's, just so you know. You're clearly not listening to one word of what's being said by the casters, or us for that matter. That was very impressive, and I feel everyone acknowledged that as well, as we should. Heroic didn't show up, so you want casters to blatantly lie? For what reason exactly? And it's like, okay, yeah, fair enough. I mean, from what I recall, the casters were giving nonstop praise. Everybody was like, "Holy shit, Evil Geniuses!" I mean, obviously Heroic didn't show up. It's not like the #1 team is supposed to lose against an underdog, but also credit where credit's due. Good job. So GamerDoc comes back. If an NFL commentator showed up, ignored the offseason changes, called a game entirely based on the previous season performance, and was clearly biased for one team, it would be unacceptable. All I'm asking for is the level of professional standards the whole scene deserves, which very reasonable. And it keeps going on and on. It's actually it gets pretty into a long thread. The thread obviously will be linked below. You guys can go check it out if you want. But this is obviously the tweet, the copy pasta posted around the world that essentially just keeps getting quoted back at her over and over and over again. Pretty much everything she says now.
By the way, so I'll tell you some key context people are going to miss. Obviously, I won't cannibalize my video too much, but here's the craziest part about it, Semmler. If I just even quickly add like 4 or 5 pieces of context, immediately it becomes ridiculous that you'd brag about this win. So one is this is the first match of the season. She's admitting it herself there. Therefore, even the #1 team like Heroic isn't in peak form that they were at the end of the season. They're in the worst form. They're starting the season again. They're at the bottom level. So it's not only the most obvious time when you could get an upset, and it's obvious because you already know who your first round opponent is. That's the way the Blast format works in the groups. So it means if you are Vorborg, you've been practicing exactly for this match in your mind, potentially for weeks. By the way, if you're as bad as EG is, I'd hope as long as you can, just get going on it. Look at all the demos. So already that primes you. And then add this detail in, right? So the first map of that series, Semmler, they lost 16-7. They then won 2 maps, 16-14, both of them. So the smallest margin you could win a map by was the map margin they won their maps by. And even in the series they won, they got shit stomped. And by the way, they got shit stomped on their own map. Their own map pick. Now, here's the last detail that I add in that will make this woman utterly, just an object of derision, is she doesn't know Counter-Strike. So how could she qualitatively make a judgment about whether what's on the screen matches up with what the best experts in the game are saying about it? She doesn't know the game, and she doesn't know being on-camera talent. So how could she have any qualification to know what the fuck she doesn't? So the worst thing is she's taken an insane fluke. By now you can even scientifically show it is one of the craziest flukes we've had in a long time on LAN. And she's bragged about it. And remember, guys, she's taken literally the smallest, 1 match worth of data. And she's telling you that you're meant to ignore all the other data and take the outlier and go, that must be because of her and Evil Genius's talent pipeline that they've just beat the #1 team in the world. Because remember, the same tweet should be applied to every match result, Semmler. So when they lose to nobody teams who are ranked like 125 in the world, what you're supposed to say is Evil Genius's talent pipeline is so bad that they now lose to teams. They don't apply the same logic. So the whole thing just collapses once you even look at it, man. Like, as you say, it was a very, put it this way, it will be a very memorable upset. But the sad thing is everyone will mainly remember this stupid meme, not even the bloody result. Like, I would even argue she's actually fucked her own players on that, mate. If all they had was the result win, at least people would give them props then. Yeah, when they lost, then people might say you're overrated or whatever. But now people are going to hate them just because of what she said, like that's not even what the player did.
I think this is legitimately driving it. Maybe it's something like kind of weird because it seems like viewership stats are what really matters to these guys. You know, it's like, oh, we can bring in the fans and all that. I think everybody's just tuning in to watch Evil Geniuses fail now. It's backfired in a horrible way where everybody's just kind of tuning in to see the car crash continue to crash. It just keeps going. You're not really tuning in for the right reason or the right reasons. I mean, obviously you can tune in to watch teams lose if you want, but like right now it feels like that's what's happening with Evil Geniuses, where I swear I tuned in earlier and they had more viewers watching the Evil Geniuses match than they did the mainstream. So
this is where you can't. There's a certain type of person, though, Semmler, I've told you on the internet. The key red flag is this. When you notice they have no shame, you have to stop engaging, because someone who has no shame, by definition, is just getting off on the attention. Like, they like it. Like, they'd rather you said something negative than nothing about them. And the way I know this individual is in that category, Semmler, is after this result, the only other tweet she made, which referenced bad results, me, G, because after that, she went radio silence, by the way, with all the losses. She would just sort of say nothing. But she had one where recently, for that RMR, which they failed to qualify to, guys, she had the gall to sort of make a tweet that was in the vein. This will definitely be in my video, so I'll just throw it away now as like a quick throwaway line. She basically said a tweet that was sort of like, wow, sure seems like there's a lot of eyes on CSGO now. I wonder if that could be because of me and my bullshit. It's like, wait a minute. You're not going to cope and spin this that now it's genius that you put all this attention on your team when they fail because it's just given attention. That's like saying, right? No one was interested in watching this like small art house movie, but then I stood out front, shitting my pants all over the wall with diarrhea, and all of a sudden there's a lot of people seem to be paying attention to me and my shitty pants outside this. Like, you haven't done anything for the movie, you idiot. They're just looking at you shitting yourself. Like, what even is the cope there? Holy shit, that's mental. Dude, when someone's doing that, like, they cannot, what that means is her position is not falsifiable. Nothing she does ever means she did it wrong. Like, even if she's totally wrong here, the logic is like, yeah, but I started a conversation. She's just doing that. She's actually doing that. Fucking Martin Bailey that started a convo, though, didn't I?
In her mindset, you can't lose. You'll always
can't.
It one way or another.
She wins.
I mean,
she
I
just
guess
wins
really
again.
this is you live by the press, you die by the press. Good press, bad press. If you're in the press, it's all good. That's the mentality here. No such thing as bad press is the way that they see it. And so whatever you can do to get eyes
unless
on
a cast is saying something on a broadcast, then that's unacceptable, of course.
Can't have that though. So to give you an idea of how it's gone for Evil Geniuses since that historic upset against Heroic, they got battered out of IEM Katowice play-in versus Fnatic and Sprout. They then immediately lost in the CCT North Europe Series, finished 9th to 16th, getting 2-0'd by Illuminar. Perfectly reasonable for you.
I guarantee fans couldn't even name 2 players on Illuminar. I couldn't name maybe one.
I'm actually going to go ahead and take a click. I'm going to click on it. And no, I couldn't.
It's not even the top Polish team, mate. Remember, at the moment, there isn't a top Polish team. They're not even the top Polish team, mate. That's how bad
Morals, Toao,
you might know Morals. There you go.
Zan, and Masked.
So what I mean, it's not even like you guys are probably thinking, oh, it's a Polish team. Like, I know the name Illuminar. It's not even Rallen and those guys you actually vaguely know. It's none of them. It's like Morals, maybe a tiny bit know. Like, no one knows these guys.
So then we go to the IAM Rio 2023 North American Open qualifier, where they also proceed to lose. They beat Demon Time in overtime, 1917. Demon Time, if you click on HLTV, there aren't even the players on the team. Like, it's a blank page. So beat them overtime, that's good. But then proceed to lose to ATK in a 30-rounder, and that has DJ, Swisher, Mistim, Bodum Master on it, right? So it has not gone well. And then you go into the Blast TV Paris Major, and this gets into our next chapter of the saga, where this is where you actually had a bit of a broadcast tied into it with some talents and everybody. Not that there weren't obviously in Katowice and all that, but in the Paris Major, the one that got all the attention was Kassad, because of course Kassad, he got a bit hard done by, particularly this gamer doc. We talked about this on a previous episode where they were kind of going back and forth, and Kassad wasn't having any of it. And well, Kassad proceeds. Absolute mad lad.
By the way, just as an aside, this is how you know people who not only don't know esports, but don't even know anything about different cultures. If you're from North America and you were unaware Serbs might hold like certain resentments for a long time, Just fucking read a book, for fuck's sake. Like, you're fucking with the wrong people. That's what I don't get. It's like Monty's line here. Like that, like he had this line mainly about me and Richard. Like, you know that line he has where he says, like, why would you antagonize investigative journalists? They might investigate you. It's like, it's the same here. It's like, why would you antagonize a fucking old school Serb, mate? And when you're from North America, it's like, bro, you're primed for him to hate your guts. What are you talking about? Also, you're just going to fuck him over, do him dirty, and then go, but you know, nothing will come from this. Like you kidding me?
So Kassad is such a mad lad that he then goes out and puts he creates his own Kassad Grand Slam.
I love
where
this.
he gives 1,000
because instead of $1 million, you get 1,000. I know, it's brilliant.
On the team that knocks Evil Geniuses out of this closed qualifier.
It's too good.
It's just the level that he goes to. So it was a story. It was a saga. You were following along the entire time. And so I'm going to sleep at night. It's like, oh, Mythic Mythic are up next. Is their chance to take them? Well, Evil Geniuses actually beat Mythic, so good on them. But Evil Geniuses had lost to MIBR in that. They lost to a team, again, a mix called YUR. Don't know. Rain and Vendetta they managed to beat, but then they get taken out by Team 1. So Team 1, congrats to Team 1 and Peacemaker for winning the Grand Slam, the Kassad Grand Slam. He gets contacted, and then he literally sends them the money. And then one of the guys from the team says, Kassad sent the money. Tomorrow I'll take the boys skiing with the money. So he literally pays for a ski trip for the team that takes out Evil Geniuses.
The only thing is, though, I saw someone made a comment, and it did make me think the same thing. The problem with that logic is, look, if they were already on the trip, Semmler, yeah, you could use the €1,000 like dollars for something on the trip. But someone did make the point, like, there's no way $1,000 would cover like a ski trip, though. So here's my joke. What happened was, obviously they're not actually like native English speakers, if you don't know. So what must have happened is they must have all been talking in a foreign language, and then they said to the translator guy, like, what do they say? And what they actually said in their language is like, $1,000. Tell you what, boys, we're gonna be having fucking fun with mountains of snow tonight. And then the guy goes like, they're gonna go skiing. Yes, they're
there you go.
There you go. That's the joke. That's the joke.
Especially,
basically, all I'm saying is when that guy said, "Wow, we're going to be, enjoying the finest powder tonight."
Nice trip,
they weren't talking about going to Aspen. They weren't going to Aspen, believe it or not, guys.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or be a pleb and don't.